You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
Look at the stars. The great kings of the past look down on us from those stars. So whenever you feel alone, just remember that those kings will always be there to guide you.
I don't think it is very useful to speculate on what God might or might not be able to do. Rather, we should examine what he actually does with the universe we live in.
We are all explorers, driven to know what's over the horizon. The most profound discoveries are not necessarily beyond that next star. They're within us, woven into the threads that bind us.
Hello, beautiful people. Happy Capricorn season. Happy Winter Solstice. Happy Mercury Day. We have a lot of energetic shifts to talk about today. So the sun is officially in Capricorn. The coldest, darkest season of the year is here. It's officially winter now as well. The solstice marking the beginning of winter. And like I said, the energy is shifting. So in this video, we're going to talk about Capricorn season. I'm going to walk you through the transits to come and also talk about how we can use this intense Capricorn energy. We now have 4 planets in Capricorn to our benefit. Hello, Nick. Happy Winter Solstice. Rose says she's celebrating her nephew's first birthday today. I'm curious, do we know, is he a Sagittarius or a Capricorn? I feel like a lot of babies are born on the solstice. So let's see who your nephew shares a birthday with. He is a birthday twin to Emmanuel Macron. I think that's the French president, if I'm not mistaken. Jane Fonda. We all know Jane Fonda. Samuel L. Jackson is a solstice baby. Kiefer Sutherland, Frank Zappa, Ray Romano, Adam Schefter, Andy Dick. It just keeps going on and on and on. And there's probably more faces you recognize here too. I really feel like energetically a lot of babies come on the solstice because they can sense the shift in energy. They're like, we got to get out of here, you know. Happy solstice to you too. Hey, Elena. So happy birthday to your nephew and to all of the solstice babies, all of the babies who really have to hone in on their birth time to find out if they're a Sagittarius or if they're a Capricorn. Angela says, I'm dying to know today's energy. Nothing but tech issues for me. Well, we are in Mercury's shadow period. So some say Mercury retrograde shadow period is more intense than the retrograde itself. Pay attention to whatever communication issues, tech issues are popping up now because you might have to revisit them when Mercury does station retrograde on December 29th. And that's one of the transits we'll be talking about as we walk through Capricorn season. So let's get a check on the current energy. The sun is in Capricorn. The moon is in Sagittarius. You can see the sun at 0 degrees right now. Jupiter at 0 degrees as well. So that's a transit we'll be breaking down today, this square between the sun and Jupiter. And, you know, nothing is screaming at me like tech issues today, but there is a lot of antsy, restless, anxious energy. With the sun squaring Jupiter, it's like over the top, too much energy. And the moon is in Sagittarius. You'll see as we walk through the transits what else is going on. But yeah, if you're not quite feeling the like serious, low-key Capricorn vibes just yet, the sun squaring Jupiter, there's still plenty of Sagittarius energy to work with. But let's start with Capricorn season. Actually, you know what? Let's start with the winter solstice. Let's start in nature first. I want to talk about the spirituality behind the winter solstice because in modern day culture, this is a time where we're really focused on Christmas. Even in astrology, it's like, okay, it's Capricorn season, but This day is a really powerful day that our ancestors, that cultures around the world have been celebrating for thousands of years. The celebration of Yule happens around this time of year, and the winter solstice is the darkest day of the year. So welcome. Welcome to the darkest day of the year, the longest night of the year as well. And in this darkness that we are in right now, we are asked to find the light within, to be the light within. And this is a time you can even think back to our ancestors. You know, they didn't have a lot of daylight to work with, so they probably spent a lot of time around the fire or lighting candles. Lighting a candle could be a powerful ritual that you do for the winter solstice. And mind you, the winter solstice, for the next 3 days, the sun will appear at a standstill. And in a lot of ways, this is a rebirth energy. It's during this time of year that many cultures celebrated the mother giving birth to the sun. So let me give you some examples. Divine feminine giving birth to the divine masculine. So in Egypt, the legend was that Isis birthed the sun god Horus around the winter solstice. And you have to remember, cultures assigned a lot of meaning to what was going on that they observed astrologically and with the planets. That's how they timed their year, right? It's really interesting too that Capricorn is the season that rules time, because in a lot of ways it feels like the time is resetting as the sun starts gaining light again after the winter solstice. So in Egypt, it was Isis and Horus. In Greek mythology, Apollo was born during the winter solstice. Of course, in Christianity, we now know that, or I shouldn't say we now know, but when there was this sweeping of religion around Europe, many cultures were already celebrating the solstice and Yule. So the church came in and essentially like moved the birth of Jesus to assign religious meaning to these cultural celebrations that were already happening. But it's interesting that, you know, the mother, the Virgin Mary, gives birth to the son, Jesus, just days after the solstice, right as the 25th is right around the time that the sun starts, the days start getting longer and the sun is sort of reborn, if you will. So after the longest night, these next couple nights, these very dark nights, our sun, our physical sun in the sky, is reborn too, bringing more light with it every day. So that's kind of the spiritual meaning that many people observe, regardless of religion, around this time of year. And you can think of this darkness that we're in right now, sort of like a womb, remembering that all beautiful things are born out of darkness. This is the time to plant the seeds in the dark, plant the seeds in the soil during Capricorn season, so they can bloom when there's enough light in the sky during spring, at the spring solstice. Capricorn season is all about planning and preparing, and it really goes hand in hand with this rebirth energy that we're feeling right around the winter solstice. So honoring the dark and then sending light ahead to whatever is going to blossom in the spring. And I'm not an expert on Yule or on, you know, pagan rituals around the solstice, but I know many of you are a little bit more in tune with those things than I am. And I would love if anybody has insight on how cultures have celebrated winter solstice or what rituals people can do or have participated in. We would love to hear it. Nick says today is also Homeless Awareness Day, to remember people who have died on the streets. Yeah, and I think also giving thanks for the roof over our head, for the warmth that we have, you know, for the fact that I can literally wear like a sleeveless shirt right now because I have a heater. There are a lot of humans on Earth that don't have these luxuries in this really cold winter time that we're heading into now, where overnight lows in many places are below freezing. So, you know, just remembering to be grateful for the safe spaces that we have around us to protect us from the elephants. I almost said elephants. I meant elements. Yeah. Nikki says it's very dark today in Montreal. 4 o'clock, cold winter season. Enjoyed a hot yoga class today. Hi, Corby. Happy winter solstice to you. So that's the spiritual meaning of the solstice. Now let's talk about Capricorn energy. Now let's get into something that is a little bit more of my expertise. So the sun moved into Capricorn officially at 1:49 p.m. Pacific time. It is Capricorn season. Capricorn season is here. For those of you watching too, I would love for you to tell me what comes to mind when you think of Capricorn energy, because Capricorns get a bad rap. Sometimes they're very responsible, very mature, very practical, but they can be pretty serious, harsh, cold, very synonymous with winter, right? So the sun is moving from this very expansive, growth focused, optimistic sign of Sagittarius to a much more practical, ambitious, serious sign of Capricorn. And that means over the next month, we're really focused on our long-term goals and responsibilities. This is perfect timing for setting New Year's resolutions, especially with the new moon coming up on Friday. Setting intentions under this new moon for the long haul for the new year is definitely favored. And of course, we'll talk about that a little bit more on Friday. But remember, Capricorn is the sign of the sea goat. And so Capricorn energy is all about climbing to the top of the mountain and taking slow and steady and practical steps to get there. It's not about winning the race. It's just about achieving the climb, getting to the top, finding success. So this is the time to really make sure the ground you're walking on is sturdy, lay that foundation for the year ahead. Maybe it's just planning things out, taking a really practical look at your life and deciding what success looks like to you, what steps can you take to find success in the new year. And no surprise, Capricorn season, we're in Capricorn season around New Year's. So we're thinking very practically about setting goals and things this time of year. You might also have money on the mind. Capricorn rules the 10th house, which is all about our long-term goals, but is also often associated with wealth, just because that's the world we live in, right? We live in a capitalistic society where money and success are very much tied for a lot of people. So you might be focusing not necessarily on getting money, but like long-term investments, long-term success, retirement, things like that, how we're investing our resources for success in the long haul. Capricorn season, you might just find that you're feeling a lot more grounded, practical. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, the father of the solar system. Capricorn energy is very fatherly energy, so themes of protection, stability, safety are likely coming up, especially because the full moon in Capricorn season will be in Cancer, the sign of the mother. So we have this like motherly, fatherly dynamic. Even just talking about giving gratitude for the safety of our homes, our safety from the elements, very much in tune with Capricorn season, the structure literally around us, protecting us. And remember, we also have Venus in Capricorn, Mercury will station retrograde in Capricorn, and Pluto is at the end of its transit through Capricorn, for now at least, until about March. So lots of Capricorn conjunctions that will be coming up during Capricorn season as well. And yes, let's hear how you're all describing Capricorn energy. Practical, grounded, responsible, serious. Exactly. Warm food, Capricorn. Yes, it's very conservative style, but very classy style. Yeah, there's also this element of tradition, honoring our ancestors, honoring the wisdom that came before us during Capricorn season. So I also love that this time of year, many of us are celebrating traditions that have been passed down from generations before us. Maybe spending time with elders in our family, that's certainly favored. Capricorn energy is also about respect, respecting your elders. There's this very clear structure and hierarchy of who is supposed to be respected and kind of who is in charge of who. Capricorn energy loves rules, loves boundaries, limitations. Yeah, that's why if you have Capricorns in your life, especially little kids, I notice little kids who have a lot of Capricorn energy like to be the boss. They really like to tell other kids how to follow the rules. They like those guidelines to follow. If you give Capricorns a step-by-step plan, they will execute it exactly according to plan. Capricorns love a plan. Tanner says, happy solstice. Capricorn to me represents the evolution of the soul coming out of the dark depths and walking the path with perseverance toward the light, the divine. Yeah, perseverance is a great word that we can associate with Capricorn energy, because no matter how difficult the climb is, I mean, think about mountain goats. Have you ever seen pictures of a mountain goat like clinging to the side of a cliff and they're standing on just like a tiny little rock ledge, and you're like, how are they doing that? How are they able to like stand on the side, the face of a cliff, you know? So that's something that we can really honor in Capricorn season, that perseverance, that ability to see the route to the top and continue climbing even when the climb is hard. The song The Climb by Miley Cyrus really comes to mind when we're talking about Capricorn energy. Yeah, finding solid ground for the turning point in life to build the future. Yeah, it's interesting too that Capricorn season comes right before Aquarius season, because Capricorn season almost lays the foundation for this innovation, this futuristic energy that Aquarius season brings. So it's like Capricorn is the tradition, it's the foundation, and Aquarius energy is the innovation and sort of enhancement, or what's the word I'm looking for? I guess just innovation that can come out of the foundations that we build now. Capricorn stellium here, Corby says, yeah, and my sun is a Capricorn moon. So you're very comfortable in this energy, climbing towards success. Calculated risks is what it makes me think of. Yes, exactly. The calculated risks, investments, right? But also having a plan when you take those risks. That's the calculation part. Seeing the next ledge and being like, okay, how am I going to get there? And how am I going to do so safely, maturely, and responsibly? That's Capricorn energy. Let's talk about what we're feeling today as well. The sun is squaring Jupiter today at 0 degrees. So that's a little much. It's a little much. That's why it doesn't quite feel just like, okay, it's Capricorn season. The moon's in Sagittarius and Jupiter in Aries is squaring the sun. So we're really getting a burst of like Sag, optimistic, confident energy. With the sun in Capricorn and Jupiter in Aries, these are both the signs most associated with leadership. So you can see that square here between the 0 degree Capricorn sun and Jupiter in Aries. 0 degrees, it's a critical degree. There's this eagerness, there's this kind of want to jump headfirst into things. And like I said, these signs or these planets are associated with confidence and these signs, and we could have a major boost of confidence. But it's really easy to be overly optimistic, to overextend our energy with the sun squaring Jupiter. Too much of the good thing isn't necessarily good at all. So if you're finding yourself being really eager or restless, or like, I'm just going to go for it, I'm just going to jump into it, check yourself before you wreck yourself. It's easy to take on more than we can handle, or even just overestimate our own power with the sun squaring Jupiter. We might also feel a little bit self-righteous with the sun and Jupiter squaring. Capricorn energy likes black and white, right and wrong, at least in my experience of Capricorn energy. It's very cut and dry. And you know, with the sun in Capricorn squaring Jupiter, it can give us this kind of like need to be right. Like, we're just going for it in our way or the highway. We've got this. It's a yes. You know, there's not a lot of wiggle room here in this transit. And our need to be right with the sun in Capricorn at 0 degrees could directly clash, this square, this 90-degree angle, with our ability to expand and see a higher perspective, as it clashes with Jupiter, the planet of expansion. So failing to kind of check our own ego with the sun in Capricorn, the sun being representative of our ego, could create some challenges or block our expansion, block what we really want. Happy winter solstice, Katie. Capricorn is in the big three of all 4 of us here. 3 of us have stelliums in Capricorn. Well, this is your season. This is your season. And something else that comes to mind when we're looking at this transit specifically is that Capricorn energy likes things to be slow and steady. It's a slow pace. There's no rush Whereas Jupiter in Aries at 0 degrees wants us to rush into things, to just blindly go for it, So you might be feeling that tension too, like the sun pumping the brakes, winter solstice really slowing things down, the darkness setting in, but this almost underlying energy or simultaneous energy even of just wanting to go for it and jump in. And yes, that can make us feel a little restless. So how do we work with this energy? Crossing off things that are already on the to-do list. I wouldn't necessarily try to start anything new today. If you do, maybe just taking a baby step, not jumping headfirst into something, because like I said, it's very easy to overestimate our abilities, to overestimate our energy with the sun squaring Jupiter. Elena also has a stellium in Capricorn and her north node in Capricorn. So Capricorn season could kind of highlight the path unfolding for you in a really beautiful way. I love that. Katie, I'm feeling that tension of so much to do for Christmas, but I don't want to go at that fast pace. Yeah, great way of putting it. Jupiter and Aries is like, you know what? We should buy 10 more gifts for each family member. Let's just go for it. It's going to be fine. What bank account? Whatever. And Capricorn energy is like, whoa, whoa, whoa. We've already bought so much. We've already done so much. Like, let's just be practical here. Let's review things. Let's slow down. Let's have a plan. That's where this clash could come into play too. Yeah, Nick. So Capricorn season is probably great for you when it comes to income and reflecting on your values. And we'll talk more about what Capricorn season is going to mean for each sign on Friday for the new moon forecast, because the new moon will be in Capricorn and we'll be really highlighting that part of your chart. So that will be coming in a couple days. We've talked about the major transits. Now let's check in on what's going on with the moon. Still the waning crescent moon as we make our way towards that new moon in Capricorn on Friday. And there's a lot of cool synchronicities coming up around this new moon that we'll chat about in a couple days. But for now, we're under the waning crescent moon in Sagittarius. And the waning moon in general is a time of surrender, letting go, trusting in the universe, just releasing our grip on things. Sagittarius energy gives us that faith, that trust, that belief that everything is going to work out. So we can expect to be a little more emotionally optimistic, more social and generous with the moon in Sagittarius. It's just kind of like this go with the flow energy and trust whatever's supposed to happen is going to happen. Trust in a plan greater than our understanding. What's interesting though is because optimism feels so natural under the Sagittarius moon, this moon phase can make us more spontaneous as well, more prone to adventure, especially with Jupiter. Sagittarius is ruling planet at 0 degrees. There is really this energy of like jumping into things without fully thinking them through. Now, that could bring good fortune. There's nothing wrong with that, but I don't need to explain to you why jumping into things without thinking them through could bring some snags, some issues, especially with Mercury in its shadow period. Yeah, I feel like especially with travel, Jupiter being at 0 degrees, the moon in Sagittarius, and Mercury in its shadow period, all of these energies are associated with travel. Like if you're thinking about like, I'm just going to hop in a car or hop on a plane or go somewhere, slow down, take a practical look at things first. If you're needing a little boost with spontaneity, though, there's a lot of Capricorn energy in the chat right now. This could be a nice time for you because Capricorns don't tend to be super spontaneous. They tend to really like want to think things through and have a plan first. Katie says, my daughter has a Capricorn moon in the 3rd house. So she probably likes to have very practical communication as she's processing her emotions, I would imagine. Yeah, and you have both Uranus and Neptune in Sagittarius in the 1st house. So that was really activated for you during Sagittarius season. Capricorn season with Mercury and Capricorn now too might help you kind of make sense of the changes, the visions, the dreams, the creativity that popped up for this next chapter of your life during Sagittarius season. Katie, I booked a trip today. Didn't overthink it as much as I usually do. Okay, so this spontaneous energy is maybe showing up in a positive way for you because you tend to really plan things out and think things through. The adventurous spirit of all the Sagittarius Jupiter energy just kind of allowed you to trust that it's going to work out. Just book the trip. Just do it, right? So, you know, it shows up, these transits show up differently for each of us based on our energy and our own charts, which is so cool. Okay, the only connections the Sagittarius moon is making today happen around 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern time. And I'll show you on the chart here. Let's see. Let me jump ahead a couple hours. And you'll see the moon opposing Mars here and forming a trine to Chiron at the same time. I know there's a lot going on this chart, but you can see that big triangle in the middle that I'm circling. This is what we're talking about. The moon opposing Mars is the most prominent aspect that we will feel in this little moon triangle here. And when the moon opposes Mars, we tend to be more impulsive, spontaneous, reactive, especially with Mars retrograde. There could be something from the past that's triggering, or just irritations popping up in general. Maybe you react in a way that you reacted a long time ago that you don't necessarily feel like aligns anymore, but Mars retrograde kind of brings back that old pattern of reacting and doing, or of irritation. So don't be surprised if triggers pop up tonight. You know, the moon opposing Mars, not the easiest aspect to deal with, but the trine to Chiron, the trine between the moon and Chiron at the same time, and Mars is forming a sextile to Chiron, as you saw in that triangle. Let me show you again. So Mars and Chiron in a sextile here, and the moon trine Chiron. This is all very supportive of our healing journey. So it's really important, I would say, to observe triggers, observe irritations that pop up, and ask how it's showing you what needs to be healed. How is the trigger cracking you open to further healing? It's like our anger, our frustration is a direct line to the wounds that are asking to be healed. Or maybe you react differently than you used to, and it's showing you what's already being healed. But whatever triggers, whatever reactions are happening tonight are directly linked to our healing journey, which is really cool. We love that Chiron is supporting Mars retrograde. It's kind of like these falling back into old patterning or reviewing how we're spending our energy is also part of our healing journey at this point. Corby, I'm in a no swipe zone. I love that. All my I'm feeling this like Mercury shadow period with my words today, just not wanting to come out clearly. All of my Sag spontaneity is under my Capricorn stellium grip. It's interesting that we have Scorpio season, this very intense season, and then Sagittarius season, this very expansive season, and then Capricorn season kind of puts a damper on it again. It's kind of like this fluctuation of energy, if you will. So no surprise, the universe plays out that way, right? It's kind of like a pendulum swinging back and forth, and Capricorn reins us in a little bit and helps us be a little bit more mature, responsible, practical, just like Corby is saying now. Katie says this 12th house transit has got me feeling really triggered and like I have very little space for others, going to be open to Chiron's lessons through this difficulty. And we might all be feeling those triggers tonight. So this is a beautiful reflection. And yeah, with Jupiter at 0 degrees of Aries too, Aries energy can be very selfish. And Chiron is in Aries too. So it's really about healing the self, healing the inner child. And you might notice tonight, or just as Jupiter moves through Aries in general, the expansion that's happening might feel a little bit selfish, like needing to take care of yourself first before you're able to hold space for other people. That's the only moon transit that's happening today too. So we have a bit of a calm day when it comes to the moon in Sagittarius. The moon will be in Sagittarius through tomorrow, and then it will move into Capricorn ahead of the new moon, of course. But we're kind of in this in-between right now. There's a stillness almost. As much as there's a stillness, there's also a speeding up with Jupiter and Aries. So that's kind of like this polarity that we're feeling with the sun literally still during the winter solstice. There's this stillness, this darkness, but also a rumbling. It's almost like a rumbling. Yeah, Jupiter at 0 degrees of Aries, like, okay, what are we going to do with this? And Capricorn energy has us projecting out and looking into the future. So you might feel a lot of motivation to plan things for the future, to plan out how you're going to achieve your success in the new year, plan out your goals for the new year. And luckily we have a new moon on Friday, which is the perfect time to do that. That's the current energy. Let's talk through what's coming up this Capricorn season really briefly. I'm going to walk you through all of the transits that are coming our way. So here we go. I will post these graphics on my Instagram probably tonight, maybe tomorrow, so you can refer back to them anytime that you're looking for guidance. But we'll start with the new moon on Friday, new moon in Capricorn. This is really kind of the darkest moment of the year. The next 3 days are these dark days before the sun starts gaining light and moving back north, essentially, and bringing more light with it. So the new moon in Capricorn marks the dark moon in the sky, the darkness in the sky. Even right now, the moon in Sagittarius is considered the dark moon. So we're really sitting in darkness. But this new moon represents light returning again, the light of the moon, the light of the sun in a lot of ways. And coming back to this womb energy, this new moon really does feel like it's like a cocoon that we can set our intentions in and find a sense of security and safety emotionally to practically look ahead towards the future. Now, the moon in Capricorn isn't the most intuitive energy. So if you're planning on doing some like new moon rituals or setting intentions, it's a powerful new moon to do them under, but you might find that you want to do something that really makes sense, like literally make a list of your New Year's resolutions rather than doing any sort of like witchy spell work. You can do whatever feels good for you, but I feel like a lot of us are in a much more practical state under this new moon in Capricorn. It's the beginning of a new cycle, a new journey, kind of the beginning of a new climb. It's like we're standing at the base of a mountain under the new moon in Capricorn and looking at the top and figuring out, okay, how are we going to get there? But we know what mountain we're climbing and we know where we want to go. It's all about planning and preparing and taking things one step at a time. Now, at the same time as the new moon in Capricorn, quite literally 45 minutes, I think, maybe even 30 minutes before the new moon, Chiron is stationing direct. Remember Chiron? We just talked about him. He's the wounded healer. And Chiron has been retrograde since July. So we've really been reviewing our healing, reviewing our wounds during Chiron's retrograde. Chiron stationing direct is another planet moving in direct motion and helping us move forward on our healing journey. We have really had to review a lot of our past traumas and past pains and past wounds and past hurts with Chiron retrograde. Now we can take that intel that we've learned from the review and use it to continue evolving in our healing. And also help others with their healing too. Remember, the mythology of Chiron is that he was the wounded healer. He had this wound that he was trying to heal and couldn't heal. He learned all these different modalities to try to heal himself, but never could, but then became a master healer and was able to heal other people too. So even taking what you've learned over the past 6 months and sharing that with others to help them along their healing journey can be really beneficial. But as you set your intentions under the new moon, being mindful of healing in those intentions, almost infusing your healing into the intentions that you set, because this new moon is directly linked to Chiron. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it with it happening at the same time. Okay, then there's the doozy of Mercury retrograde. December 29th, we end the year with the most infamous transit in astrology, Mercury stationing retrograde. So Mercury, of course, the planet of communication, taking its backspin through Capricorn. I feel like this is going to be a lot of review energy, especially at the end of the year. You'll see a lot of people posting reels and pictures of their year in review. That is So Mercury retrograde in Capricorn, like a very practical way of reviewing everything that's transpired, reviewing how our mindset has changed, even reviewing how our communication has changed, but like I said, in a very practical and kind of serious way. Mercury retrograde is notorious for causing tech issues, communication breakdowns, and with Mercury in Capricorn, the most serious, cold, harsh sign of the zodiac, it's really important not only to be clear in how we're communicating, but also, or with what we're communicating, but also be mindful of how we're communicating, infusing empathy, infusing compassion, even a little more than we normally do, because it's really easy for things to get misconstrued during Mercury retrograde, and your tone could even be misconstrued. It might take a little extra effort to communicate effectively and make sure other people know that you do care as you're communicating, because like I said, Mercury and Capricorn can be kind of harsh, especially Mercury retrograde. Might revisit old ideas that came up this year during Mercury retrograde too. Maybe there was a project or a creative spark that you remember during Mercury retrograde and that you want to bring into the new year with you. Patience is key. Patience is key. And the Capricorn energy can definitely help us be patient. It can teach us patience, but especially with Mercury retrograde. On January 2nd, Venus enters Aquarius. So we'll still have a stellium in Capricorn, but one planet is moving out into Aquarius. And Venus in Aquarius in January is kind of making us crave some strange love, a different kind of love. We aren't here for the basics. We want weird people, eccentric people. This is the time to think outside the box when it comes to the people you're attracting into your life, the relationships you're forming, even when it comes to money and beauty, because remember, Venus rules love, money, and beauty. So we might find ourselves more attracted to weird people. We might even find like weird things more beautiful, odds and ends, if you will, more beautiful. And when it comes to money, innovating, thinking outside the box, doing it differently, finding new avenues for financial success is definitely favored as well. If you're currently in a relationship with Venus being the planet of relationships, doing things differently is aligned with Venus in Aquarius. And if you are looking to be in a relationship, doing things differently is aligned with Venus in Aquarius. So maybe taking to the dating apps. Aquarius is a very technological sign. Updating your bio, signing back on to Tinder or Bumble or whatever apps people are using these days. You never know who you might find attractive during Venus and Aquarius. So being willing to kind of go outside your normal box. Beauty, love, money are found in weird places during this transit. On January 6th, we have the full moon in Cancer. The full moon in its home sign, really helping us attune to that divine feminine energy, to that motherly energy. This is really like a mama bear vibe with the full moon in Cancer. And it's really going to bring up themes of safety, feeling safe in our own body, feeling safe in our own emotions, and asking us how we can feel safer. Illuminating the ways that maybe we feel insecure, illuminating the protections that we're putting up, the shields that we're putting up from other people, and asking us to soften a little bit. This full moon is a reminder to take care of our bodies, take care of ourselves like a mother would, to mother ourselves. We're going to crave familiar foods, creature comforts, all those things that you want your mom to give you, like when you're sick. That's kind of the full moon in Cancer. How can you give those things to yourself? And Mercury will still be retrograde. There's an energy of nostalgia, certainly. With a full moon in Cancer, you might find yourself thinking back to the glory days or the good times when things were simpler and you felt safer. And you might just feel that your emotions are heightened as well. It's a full moon, and it's a full moon in its home sign. So releasing anything that we're still carrying that doesn't make us feel safe, and knowing that it is safe to let go of what's no longer serving us. January 8th. This is a fun transit that I am very curious to see play out. Lilith is moving into Leo. Black Moon Lilith, making a very dramatic entrance into Leo. Remember, Lilith has been in Cancer. It's very much been about the divine feminine, about bodily rights, bodily autonomy. We've seen a lot of themes in the feminine collective coming up around these issues. Lilith in Leo is a much bolder energy. Lilith is often referred to as our inner bitch. And with Lilith in Leo, it's like our inner bitch is taking center stage. Leo likes the dramatics, right? Lilith represents the part of us that doesn't want to submit, that doesn't want to be controlled or dominated. So as she moves through this fiery sign of Leo, we are really stepping into our authority, and doing so can be very magnetic, knowing our worth, knowing our power. But it's also easy to take the dramatics too far, take our power plays too far. So remember, causing drama doesn't always necessarily lead to the upper hand or to making us feel in control. There is a tendency to do that with Lilith and Leo, to cause a little bit of drama, but standing up for yourself doesn't necessarily mean you need to make a scene. Just fair warning. Lilith will be in Leo, I think, until September, August or September, if I'm not mistaken, maybe even October. So we're hanging out with her for a while. Mars stations direct on January 12th, and then we'll almost have all of our planets in forward motion. We still have Mercury and Uranus coming up in January, but Mars has been retrograde for a long time at this point. There's still some time while Mars will still be in its shadow period, but Mars being the planet, the masculine planet, the planet of motivation, drive, stamina, when it resumes forward motion on January 12th, it's really helping us take all the things we reviewed about how we've extended ourselves. What do we really want? These questions we've been asking ourselves during Mars retrograde, taking that intel and then moving forward with more clarity, progressing on the projects and ideas that were birthed before Mars stationed retrograde, or that were even conceptualized before Mars stationed retrograde. It's like we're gaining momentum as Mars stations direct, and the pace is definitely going to pick up too, especially as Capricorn season comes to an end. Mars is in this stimulating sign of Gemini, so it craves multitasking, doing a lot of things at once. As Mars stations direct, remember the review that you just did about how it feels to be juggling, how it feels to be extending your energy, all of these places, right? Because it's really easy to sign on to a lot of projects. Again, you know, it's January. We have all this optimism about the year ahead. Try not to overextend yourself. Use what you learned during your review, during the retrograde, during the slowdown to your benefit, especially while Mars is still in its shadow period until the beginning of March. We can really tap into the wisdom of Capricorn season here and take things one step at a time, take things slow. And then Mercury stations direct on January 18th. So Mercury retrograde starts and ends in Capricorn season, and Mercury will be in Capricorn the entire time. As Mercury stations direct and begins forward motion again, we can really take all of the things that we reviewed for the first 2 weeks of the year, essentially, and gain more clarity, gain more understanding as we move forward. I see this as bringing in a lot of closure and completion. Capricorn energy likes the end result, the success, right? And with Mercury moving forward again, it's like we're craving that completion of an idea, of a thought, of a conversation. Maybe you were reviewing some negotiations, some conversations during Mercury retrograde that as it stations direct, you can kind of finally put a pin in and finish. Sign on the dotted line, if you will. So this is a practical look mentally of how we want to move forward, and also a reminder that it's never too late to set goals in the new year. This retrograde ends just 3 days before the new moon in Aquarius. And so, you know, maybe Mercury retrograde had you reviewing some of your long-term goals with Mercury and Capricorn, and as Mercury stations direct, you can really start a new list of long-term goals, and, you know, kind of mentally refocus, if you will, on what's really important. And that's it. Like I said, I'll post this carousel, these graphics on my Instagram if you want to come back to them at any point. Of course, you can always come back to this video too and see what's ahead. That's a look at Capricorn season, and oh my goodness, you guys have been chatting it up. Katie says totally how it feels with that Jupiter rumbling in the background. I think her husband took the kids out of the house so she could slow down and reflect. Glad you took him up on that offer. Love that for you. Love that. Nick, I'm just going to let my friends chill here tonight. We'll have to battle them at magic cards. Probably will be a good time. Very, Capricorn energy can be a little competitive too. We want to win. We want success. So that could be a fun way to lean into it. Sun and Saturn in Capricorn here with the stellium and Sagittarius. All right, so it's your season, Laura. Katie says, just had a big insight click for me with stepping into my matriarchal role and the healing taking place from losing the patriarch of my family. Healthy leadership might be my New Year's words for 2023. I love that. And really the perfect time to step into healthy embodied leadership as we are in Capricorn season, and with the full moon in Cancer coming up, we have a lot of this Capricorn Cancer duality that we're playing with. And both of these are, the patriarch and the matriarch of the zodiac. So perfect. This video is definitely a rewatch video. And of course, we'll talk through all the transits as they come up, as we always do. But it's very Capricorn of us to be looking ahead, right? Looking ahead, planning accordingly. So hopefully that gave you some insight on maybe how to plan your next month or so. Let's return back to today's affirmation, which is, in the darkness, I am the light. In this dark time in the Northern Hemisphere, the winter solstice, we're really sinking into the darkness, getting comfortable in the darkness, whether we like it or not. And during winter solstice, like I said at the beginning of this video, it's a time that humans have lit candles and gathered around fires and found their own light. But even more so, it's a time to find the light within yourself, to know that you shine in the dark. And that's powerful. You have the power to bring light into the darkness. And we'll finish with a quick card pull from the Universe Has Your Back deck. A simple, quick one-line message. Very Capricorn energy, like just get to the point. We don't need a big guidebook explanation, right? We just want it clear and straight. So, you know the drill. This is your time to ask any final questions, share any final insights you have before we pull a collective card for Capricorn season. I know that it's still a busy time. I feel like the slowdown of Capricorn season, at least for those of us who celebrate Christmas and the holidays, it doesn't really set in until we get there, until we get to like Christmas, right? There's a lot of hustle and bustle that a lot of us are still in right now. But I think the new moon on Friday, especially because Christmas is on a Sunday this year, I think that will really be where we're feeling the pumping of the brakes and the slowdown this weekend. In the darkness, I am the light. Yes. Remember how powerful your light is. Katie says, appreciate this video so much. Capricorn energy in my chart and my family members. And I just want to remind you all too, I saw a video today that was like ranking the most difficult moon signs to have or something like that. And Capricorns, I'm sure you'll see throughout Capricorn season lots of funny memes and posts about how serious and difficult Capricorns can be, which can be true. But remember, Capricorns are kind of the silent leaders, and Capricorn at its best is the practical energy and the serious energy that makes us feel safe, that makes us feel protected. So there's a lot of really positive qualities to Capricorns. Don't be fooled by the jokes on social media. Me too, Corby. She says, excited about what this new season is going to bring. Looking forward to the slowness. Me too. Hi, Diane. Merry solstice to you. Okay, let's all pull a card together. So we're going to take a deep breath, the deepest breath you've taken all day, just taking a moment to give that gift to yourself. And as we exhale, sending light, the light within that we're tapping into under this solstice, sending light into the cards and asking for the message you need to hear. All right, here we go. Breathing in nice and deep from the bottom to the top. Holding and release. What do we need to know? Interesting. This is a very interesting card to pull at the beginning of Capricorn season, as we just talked about a Mercury retrograde, a Mars retrograde. Attack, pain, fear, judgment, and any form of separation are merely calls for help. Whoa. I was expecting a little bit more of an uplifting card, but true Capricorn energy coming through with a dose of realism. Attack, pain, fear, judgment, and any form of separation are merely calls for help. Well, this resonates a lot for me. I don't know about you, but I think this is a reminder. We didn't really talk about the negative aspects of Capricorn energy so much because we like to stay in the light here. We like to see the positive, right? The moon's still in Sagittarius. There's still some optimism to lean into, but Capricorn energy can be very worrisome. It can be negative. There's a reason Saturn is called the Great Malefic, and Saturn rules Capricorn. It kind of shows us what's wrong. It shows us flaws in the structure. Capricorn energy can be negative, point blank. And we're all feeling Capricorn energy with the sun in Capricorn. Also, just like seasonal depression, that's a thing that we're heading into right now with winter now here. So remember, if anybody is feeling a little overwhelmed by the worry, the negativity, the shadow side of Capricorn energy, if anybody in your life is attacking or placing judgment on you or repeatedly sharing their worries with you, their fears with you, remember that those are calls for help. And we can all kind of step into what Katie was just talking about, this leadership role. And we're all here to walk each other home, right? Isn't that what Ram Dass says? So if you're noticing the people in your life or even yourself going into attack mode, Mars is still retrograde too. So again, those past patterns can pop up when it comes to anger and hostility. Remember that they're just cries for help, looking to be mothered, looking to be fathered, looking to feel safe. So how can you find more safety and security in yourself this Capricorn season? That's going to be a big theme that likely keeps popping up, finding security in yourself. And being in that energy of security for yourself is going to help the people around you feel more secure too. Woe is right. Seriousness, but needed reminder. Yeah. The cards don't lie, my friends. The cards do not lie. Yeah. On the longest night and darkest day, we get a serious message. The return of the sun comes tomorrow. Each day forward gets longer as the sun grows. I'm confident a brighter message will come tomorrow. Me too. Me too. But for anybody who needed to hear this, sending you love and sending you feelings of safety. It's safe to feel how you feel. It's normal to feel fears, but separating fact from fiction can be a little difficult sometimes in Capricorn season. We take things at face value. So remembering, if you're feeling overwhelming feelings, we don't have to take them at face value. Just because you're feeling something doesn't necessarily mean it's true. Attack, pain, fear, judgment, these difficult feelings that sometimes pop up might just be signals from your body or from someone else's body that it's not getting the thing it needs. How can we make ourselves feel more secure? How can we nourish ourselves in the midst of winter, in the midst of the cold and the darkness, really taking care of our bodies and setting that foundation for the future. Part of setting a healthy foundation is nourishing our body, nourishing ourselves, right? Making ourselves feel safe. Katie says, I love it. Making my plan to embrace all the darkness and let the light shine through. Like the feeling after getting a hug when I'm sad. Yeah. And how can you give yourself that feeling? How can you give yourself that feeling? Because the more you create that safety in yourself, the more just generally your kids, your husband, your family members, your mom, your dad, your pets will feel safe too. I know, we gotta love Diane coming in at the perfect moment, being like, it's okay. Again, the moon is still in Sagittarius. We really want to feel optimistic still. So yeah, finding the silver lining, a more positive message will come through tomorrow. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for today, though. I hope you're having a blessed winter solstice, a beautiful start to your Capricorn season. Tomorrow, we have a trine between Venus and Uranus, so there could be a change of heart, a change of cash flow, a change of values, potentially. We'll talk about that tomorrow. And then Friday, we have the new moon in Capricorn, where we can set intentions and really lean into how Capricorn energy is showing up in each of our charts. Aw, thank you. Fuzzy Care Bear on Instagram says, thanks, Olivia. As a Capricorn, I needed your positive energy today. Remember to give lots of love and positivity to your Capricorn friends too. It doesn't always come so naturally for them. So if it does, if you're a Sag or someone who can see the silver lining very easily, that's a gift that maybe your Capricorn friends, kids, neighbors, loved ones might need to tap into just a little bit. Wishing you all a great rest of your day from Nick. Thank you for being here. You are a blessing to all of us, Corby, and we're so happy to have you in this community. And that goes for every single person who joined this live stream, who's finding this video later. Thank you for showing up for yourself today. Thank you for showing up for me, for each other, for this community. And know that you're loved. Know that it's safe to feel how you're feeling. I will be back tomorrow with hopefully a more positive message. We're manifesting it thanks to Diane. But find your light in the darkness. And as always, stay curious. Thank you so much for joining us and aligning with the energy of the universe today. If you enjoyed this morning's episode of Transits Today, you can join our live astrology discussion every weekday morning right here wherever you're watching. And head to thespiritualjournalist.com to read your daily astrology forecast and browse the Spiritual Shop. The most fun way to help keep these forecasts free and support more content like this is to buy yourself a little something on our website. But if you're feeling extra generous, you can also buy me a coffee to fuel future live streams. Just tap the link in the description or head to buymeacoffee.com and search The Spiritual Journalist. And speaking of, you can also tune in to The Spiritual Journalist, our weekly live interview where we ask our guests questions about everything from crystals and manifestation to mental health and the environment. Those conversations stream live right here wherever you're watching now every Tuesday. I'm so grateful you found us here, and I can't wait for our next conversation.